D'Alessio.
Yes, Len D'Alessio. That was a nice story.
Yeah, no, full of great stories.
Yeah, persistence gets you far.
Unbelievable. All right, my third guest tonight, he's an actor, he's a director. You've seen him on The Sopranos and Blue Bloods and many other TV appearances. Let's give a warm late night welcome for my good friend, Robert Funaro. Bobby. What's up, pal?
How you doing?
Thank you. How you doing?
Very good.
Give yourself a clip on the other side. You got the mic on the other side.
Oh, okay, yes.
It's right behind you.
That's all right.
Right over here.
That's like the thing over here.
It's the thing. I'm going to attach it
I think you should make the T-shirt.
correctly to my shirt.
There you go. Oh.
Ouch. I feel like George Harrison, man. Let it be.
Unbelievable. All right, Bobby, before we get into everything that you're doing now, how did you get your start in acting? How old were you?
Well, I think the professional start is an interesting story. I mean, I was working, of course, as a young boy, my family always handed up like a lot of the Italian families. So I got the bug from my uncle. He was a director. He directed Hello, Dolly, a lot of musicals.
Wow.
Finian's Rainbow, and I used to go to see their plays. And that's how I kind of got the bug, you might say. But professionally, I was working at Caroline's on Broadway. I was working there for maybe 8 years, on and off acting, auditioning, but not really pursuing it. I just got a little frustrated with it. But I did a play with a very famous actor who remembered me when he made it, James Gandolfini.
Really?
Yes, and a friend of mine met him at a party, and he introduced himself. He said, "Hey, look, I know Bobby Funaro." And James said, "Oh, wait, what's Bobby doing?" Because we did this play in Europe, in Scandinavia. We toured Streetcar Named Desire. He played Mitch, and I played Stanley Kowalski.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how me and James met. So after we got back, we separated about 10, 15 years later. Make a long story short, my friend said that I was working at Caroline's Comedy Club. And James remembered that, and there was a role on the show that he thought I was right for. So one day I'm managing. Before that, I was a doorman.
So that's what you were doing over there?
I was a doorman, actually, originally. Doorman / I was the skinniest bouncer on Broadway.
I was going to say, I didn't think you were a comedian.
The comedians used to make fun of me. Look at that bouncer. It's like, But I used to trick people. I call it the trickster crow, my Indian strategy. I would tell them, yeah, you want to fight that guy? Go upstairs. And then I would lock the door from the inside, and that would be the whole thing. But anyway, so one day I come into work, and he's there. He's at the front bar. And I was great to see him. I said, "James, what are you doing? What's happening? Congratulations on the show." And he said, "Well, I'm here to ask you to audition for a part." And it's like 8 years later. And the fact is that he took his driver, Joe Fay, he's a great guy, and he didn't remember the comedy club. So he went to 5 or 6 or 7 of them. This is the kind of man he is, to find me. And he asked me to audition, said, I can't really make any promises, but because I tried to get a friend on the show, I couldn't get him on, but listen, at least you get a crack at it. So I called Georgianne Walken's office that very night, and I was given the audition, and I remember having to audition the following day. And I stayed there till because I had the keys to the place. I stayed till 5 a.m. and worked on the role inside there. And I hadn't really done any acting. And I auditioned, got a call back, and I was on the show. The rest is history.
Now, what was that, third or the fourth season that you started?
That was season 3.
Yeah, because I just started re-watching them from the third season on, so I saw you I thought it was the third season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it happened for me.
That's great.
And ever since then, I've been working professionally. So it's been 12 years.
I mean, having all the guys that you worked with on the show besides James, who were your buddies that you palled around with on the outside? I know you're close with Vinnie Pastor.
Yes, Vincent Pastor, Maureen Van Zant. She's been a very important person in my life. And Stevie, but more Maureen, we're more friends. Mm-hmm. But Stevie's great because Stevie would produce plays in the off season. Because people don't realize Sopranos really went on for 10 years. People say, you're going to do the show again, I said, listen, it was a 10-year gig. And for me, it was 6 years. I could never get tired of it, but because they did it for a long time. But Maureen, she did these plays, so we would keep working, when we weren't doing anything, when the show was black.
Yeah.
Steve Sharippa, he's a great guy. Everyone on Sopranos is really great people, but I guess more or less Vincent and Maureen and Steve too.
Yeah. I love watching Sopranos, and I was devastated when it ended. My family was, all my friends. It's just.
I think we all were.
It's timeless, So like, I get my dose of the Sopranos. I tell all the guys that come on, once a year I go through the whole season to get my little Sopranos dose,
Yeah. Well, when you asked me to bring a clip, which I did, I actually watched. I don't like to watch myself. I hate watching myself.
Everybody says that.
It's like being photographed. You see, my sister's notorious for that, But now she likes the digital age. My sister Randy, she erased that photograph, so she can do it now, right on the spot.
Yeah, well, now everybody can do that. That's what stinks. Back in the day, you took the pictures, you wasted money on bad pictures. Half the pictures be bad.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got the roll in. Why don't we share it with our studio audience? How's that?
That'd be great.
Hey, listen to this. If your nose runs and your feet smell, you're built upside down.
Funny.
Hey, by the way, your Florida thing. Tony asked me to speak to you. That's a no-go.
What?
Can't be accommodated. You're part of the team.
But I just did that thing.
That's not my department.
Well, can I talk to Tony at least?
I wouldn't bother him. He's out on a new boat.
Does he think I'm gonna talk about shit up here with what I've done? What I just did?
Amazing work.
Well, thank you, Dimitri. Thank you. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Yes, they should bring the Sopranos back.
My first professional experience, so I was like thrown to the lions, literally
man.
like Gladiator.
It's HBO all-time hit
Yeah.
series.
I mean, I was going to finish before. The thing about the show is that when you watch it, it's very dramatic, and you watch the shows on TV now. They don't just have that. It just was great writing.
Oh, it was awesome, and you fall in love with the characters,
Yeah. That's important in a dramatic series. Character is really everything because people want to see that person, And you see some dramatic series; they're all based on the story, and then you start getting bored.
Yeah.
It just doesn't hold your attention.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name any shows' names because I don't want to get in trouble, and I might get a job from them.
Well, Bobby, I know that there's a big buzz on David Chase's new film, Not Fade Away.
Yeah.
How was it working with David Chase again?
The same. He's like a gnome. He's like a little he's like a little leprechaun that shows up everywhere. He hears everything. It was really I don't think I was really directed by David. It didn't seem like I think Tim Van Patten was I really didn't get a chance to really work with David in one-on-one. Mm-hmm. So that was really, really wonderful, the whole experience of working with him. And he's very he knows what he wants, and you need to deliver it, and you do it again and again until you get it. That whole experience with that particular film, which opens at the New York Film Festival, doesn't open the show, but it's the centerpiece.
Okay.
It's pretty exciting because it's it's about like the bands that you bring up yourself, the garage bands.
Yeah.
A coming-of-age story. John Magaro plays the main character with Molly Price as his mother, James as the father. Mm-hmm. Lisa Lampanelli, who plays my wife.
Wow. So that must
and
be,
Lisa, I knew her from Caroline's Comedy Club, when she was just starting. Now she's gigantic.
I'd love to get him on the show. She's hilarious.
You would? Well, maybe I'll ask her.
Yeah,
maybe you could make a phone call for us.
Put the good word in.
How's that?
Well, you have to get a limousine for her. You have to do the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, we're on a low budget. I'll send him
I'm a Buffalo
I'll
soldier.
pick her up. How's that?
I'll pick him up.
I'll pick her up.
Now listen, you dabble with a lot of New York City off-Broadway, and you're currently working with Vinny Pastor on his play Wild Children. Why don't you tell everybody how the production's going?
Well, it's really, at this stage, it's a work in production.
Okay.
Workshopping it to develop it. Vincent was a bar owner. He owned this bar called the Crazy Horse, and it's somewhat of an autobiography. He doesn't really wind up like the character. I won't say what happens to him in the end because that'll spoil it for people who come to see the play. But it's the struggles in the, I would say, the 70s with drugs and the surrounding influences of people and how they take you down. I play the main character, Frankie Donato, whose dream is to really have a place like CBGB's, a blues bar, which is what Vincent does a lot. He sings and he does all these things, and that's what he had at one time. And he had Hall & Oates there. He had some really pretty big people there, you know, who started this. So you have to start somewhere, and that's what he created. But the the forces from those people that he was surrounded with kind of, you know, ruined it for him, and it ruins it for a lot of people.
Yeah,
the drugs and the money. I mean, you've seen Carlito's Way, right?
Oh, that was the best. Yeah, man.
So that's, you know, that's the thing about Wild Children. So it's about all that stuff, that whole experience of 70s of drugs and trying to that same struggle that I guess in a way that Terry Malloy has in Waterfront, although it's somewhat to do with conscience, you know, but more about having a dream and trying to see it through. And people in this world are
It's tough.
bad people out there, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
it's
what
tough.
that's about.
Bobby, you were also Ridley Scott's big film American Gangster.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Denzel Washington. What was it like working with him?
Well, I didn't get a chance. Well, I did work with Denzel, but not on like a one-on-one basis.
Right.
I mean, as an actor, if you're not really involved with another actor, you try to give them their space and not, you know, kind of. Well, I heard some stories, which I won't mention.
You know, I heard a lot of
So
stories, too.
I don't want, you know, I mean, he's a brilliant actor, Denzel Washington. But you kind of respect everyone's space. So if I'm dealing with you as another actor, you know, I want to know you, like Josh Brolin. That was a great experience working with him as his partner in that film.
Right.
So, you know, like the first day on set, you know, I acted like his partner. You know, I brought a couple of waters and, you know, kind of like a partner. You try to build that relationship because that's going to show on camera.
You
Yeah,
did the
big
right
time.
thing.
So Denzel, although I studied with Win Hammond, who Denzel studied with, I didn't really, I kind of like, I wanted to mention it, but at the same time, he's working, and you know, he's really very, very focused actor.
Yeah,
You know, but I got a chance to meet Frank Lucas, the real guy, and Richie
Which is
Roberts,
amazing.
which was really great. So I had my time with Frank Lucas, you know.
Now, Bobby, it's almost your time. We got a couple more things we'll talk about. Besides being a talented actor, you also...
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
You're a talented talk show host.
Yeah, I wish.
He's been calling Johnny
Oh,
Carson.
I mean, this is
Thank you.
great.
It's hard to do what we do with no budget, but anyway, you're also a director. You got this short titled Kid.
Yes.
Is it coming out soon? Is it in the works? That just.
Well, we're
heard about
currently
it.
we pretty much have it cast. Richard Indelicato, he's written a really cute little story about Brooklyn and growing up in Bensonhurst. And we're going to go into production in January with Maureen Van Zandt, Vincent Pastore,
Cool.
Kelly K. Barnett, some really good actors that we know. We try to keep it like a family. People who really who don't complain, you know, it's going too long. And like you have people here, they're not complaining, Mike's falling off, things are happening, you know.
That is
So,
cool.
I mean, Kid is a short piece. I really like it a lot. And a great little twist in the end. But yeah, we're going to start doing it. I'm going to direct it. It's going to be my first really short film that I directed, I've ever directed, really. I've done some theater, but I'm really looking forward to working on it. And I'm trying to convince Richard not to be in it so I could just do it completely, but he just wants me to play one of the characters, one of the main characters, which I'll probably do.
All
Well,
right, cool.
congratulations on directing your new film.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
definitely, we definitely got to have you back here. And you can fill us in on the play. I know you're doing something, Robert Hesse right now, Broadway's finest. We could look forward to, right?
Right, an independent film.
Is there anywhere people can get in touch with you on the web before we go?
Facebook. I always try to make myself accessible to everyone because you never know who's going to be the next person who's going to do something great. And
Exactly. Well, Bobby, you're a gentleman. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on
you,
the show.
John.
Everybody, Bobby Funaro.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.